The Galactic Council chamber floated above the violet storm clouds of Vorexus Prime, a glass cathedral suspended in permanent twilight. Its transparent floors revealed an ocean of lightning below, each flicker illuminating the restless silhouettes of alien delegates who had gathered to discuss, once again, the human problem. They spoke in overlapping tones, hisses, vibrations, melodic pulses, arguing as though the universe hinged on their ability to outshout one another. And perhaps it did. Every empire represented in this floating citadel had, at some point, learned the same uncomfortable truth. Humans were unpredictable, unnervingly social, and disarmingly polite in ways that frightened even the oldest species. On this particular evening, the lightning beneath the chamber cracked like a warning knuckle. A shimmering hologram flickered into the center of the hall. The projection bore a name, stamped in bold galactic common. Target identified. Human General, Alibaba Yaga. The room fell silent, not from reverence, but from the kind of collective dread usually reserved for ancient curses. A Harkonnen elder clicked his 3 mandibles in distress. "She is only 30 standard years old," he muttered. "And yet her file folder is thicker than our war archives." The Veldrath Dominion's representative, a towering reptilian adorned with ceremonial blades, scoffed loudly enough to echo against the glass. "This is absurd," he snarled. "Another human? Another overinflated myth? They breed legends faster than they breed soldiers." A murmur circled the chamber, but no one dared correct him. The Veldrath had never fought humans directly. Everyone else had. A screen shift illuminated the file in unsettling detail. A woman with midnight hair pulled into a precise braid, posture straight as though carved from steel, eyes calm enough to unnerve predators. She sat in a human command center, smiling gently while reviewing battlefield reports. She looked like someone prepared to host a polite dinner, not command fleets. That was, of course, the problem. Humans had mastered the art of pretending they were soft. "She goes by Baba Yaga," whispered an Etherian delegate, trembling visibly. "Do you understand? Humans give monsters pet names. They do not fear them. They domesticate them." Another shudder ran through the chamber. Somewhere in the back, a nervous scribe fainted. The Veldrath general slammed his tail against the floor. "We eliminate her before she destabilizes the quadrant. End this conversation." But even his bluster did not ease the tension. It merely rearranged it. Because deep down, beneath pride, beneath arrogance, most species in that chamber knew that targeting a human was never simple. Humans possessed a particular trait the Council had never managed to quantify: a dangerous blend of humor, adaptability, and uncanny strategic instinct that bordered on predatory intuition. Still, the vote passed. The target was confirmed. "Neutralize General Baba Yaga," the Council declared. The lightning surged beneath the chamber, as if the planet itself recoiled. Far across the galaxy, on a quiet frontier station orbiting a red dwarf star, General Elena Baba Yaga Volkova sat at a weathered wooden table, actual wood, imported at great expense, stirring honey into a steaming cup of tea. She wore a soft gray sweater instead of armor, her expression gentle enough to make her junior officers uncomfortable. Humans around her bustled with casual energy, laughing, sipping coffee, arguing about which century of rock music was superior. It was, to any outsider, the picture of harmless civility. Her second-in-command, Captain Rivera, hurried in with a datapad clutched to her chest. "General, you need to see this." Baba Yaga lifted her eyes, impossibly calm, and accepted the datapad with a serene nod. She skimmed the intercepted transmission. A council order labeling her a threat. A target. A destabilizing force. Her lips curved into a soft smile that, somehow, made the room feel colder. "How flattering," she murmured. Rivera cleared her throat nervously. "Ma'am, the Veldrath have already assembled an assassin cohort. Reports say they intend to strike tonight." "Is that so?" Baba Yaga set the datapad aside with the careful grace one uses to place a candle on a delicate altar. "Then we should prepare a welcome." She rose, not with martial intensity, but with the calm of someone who had already rehearsed every outcome. Someone who understood that fear was most effective when worn as a pleasant smile. Outside the station, The airlock hummed and hissed as workers loaded supplies. Marines lounged against crates, discussing American movies from centuries earlier. One quoted a line so dramatically that an alien maintenance officer misinterpreted it as a ritual war chant. Baba Yaga watched the scene unfold with quiet amusement before stepping into the corridor. Her assistant trotted beside her. "General, if the aliens really are coming, shouldn't we alert the fleet?" "That won't be necessary yet." Her tone remained melodic, almost motherly. "Let them believe they are hunting me. It's important they feel confident for a little while longer." "Why?" Rivera asked. "So they gather exactly where I need them," she replied, voice lowering to a velvet whisper. The corridor lights flickered as if acknowledging her intent. Meanwhile, on the assassin transport slicing toward the human outpost, Veldrath warriors whispered in excitement. "Humans act slow. Soft. Predictable," one hissed. "We strike. We finish her. We return as heroes." They rehearsed strategies, none of which included the possibility that humans might anticipate them. Their ship descended into the star's dim orange glow, approaching the outpost's edge. As they prepared to breach, one assassin watched humans jogging along the perimeter trail, stretching, sweating, laughing. "Strange," he muttered. "Are they preparing for pursuit?" Another misinterpreted the human's casual wave as a challenge gesture. Inside the base, Baba Yaga stepped into the operations room. She regarded the glowing tactical map, pinpointing where the assassins would enter. Her face remained serene, though a flicker of steely focus sharpened her eyes. She traced a finger over the coordinates. "Begin Phase 1, she said softly. Rivera inhaled sharply. "Phase 1. Baba Yaga turned toward her with a gentle smile. Too gentle. "Of course. You didn't think I would wait passively, did you? The Council has made their move. Now we guide them where they need to go." "And where is that?" Baba Yaga gazed out the viewport. Stars shimmered against the black, scattered like patient witnesses. "Into fear," she whispered. "Fear makes empires predictable." A tremor of something unspoken rippled through the room. The junior officers exchanged glances. No one dared question her further. Beyond the station's shields, the first shadow of the approaching assassins crossed the sensor grid. A silent alert pulsed. Baba Yaga's smile widened. Not sinister, not malicious, but something more unsettling. Confident. Certain. She stepped closer to the window, as though greeting old acquaintances arriving late. The assassins were still unaware that she already knew their positions, their weaknesses, their blind obedience to council command. She breathed in, steady and deliberate, before speaking one final line that hung in the air with chilling simplicity. "Let them come," she murmured. "The galaxy is about to learn what happens when it chooses the wrong human." And somewhere in the dark, as the assassins crept ever closer, the stars themselves seemed to pause, waiting for what she would do next. The Veldrath assassins landed on the barren ridge behind the human outpost with the silent precision of veteran predators. Their scales shimmered under the thin red starlight as they adjusted their cloaking membranes, confident, perhaps fatally so, that humans were too simple to anticipate an infiltration this refined. They crept forward in formation, hissing battle songs under their breaths. Yet even before they reached the rear entrance of the station, some subconscious instinct gnawed at them. The place didn't feel tense, or alert, or militarized. It felt comfortable. Warm. Wrong. Inside the perimeter, 3 human Marines were gathered around a metal barrel grill, flipping something sizzling and fragrant. Smoke drifted upward in lazy spirals. One Marine poked the meat inside. "If Rivera steals the last piece again, I swear I'm filing a complaint with command." Another laughed, slapping the side of the grill like it owed him money. To the assassins who had only ever cooked food by searing it on plasma casings, this ritual looked disturbingly ceremonial, like a rite performed before war. The leader of the Veldrath squad paused, observing the scene through thermal lenses. "They are preparing for a conflict," he whispered. "See? The smoke signals. The sharpening of tools." He mistook the spatula for a weapon. "Stay alert. Humans disguise aggression beneath casual gestures." Yet the humans weren't sharpening anything. One was telling a joke about an ancient American movie, where time travel caused a man to nearly erase his own existence. The assassins interpreted the laughter as territorial roaring. Then the outpost's rear hatch slid open with a soft hiss, and she stepped outside. General Elena Volkova, Baba Yaga, appeared without ceremony, carrying 2 steaming mugs of tea. Her sweater sleeves were pushed to her elbows, and a strand of hair had fallen free from her braid. She looked nothing like the mythical predator the assassins imagined, yet the moment she entered the open air, a sharp, instinctive recoil surged through them. Her calm presence pressed against their nerves like invisible claws. She looked around gently, as though stepping into a quiet evening rather than a pending assassination attempt. When she spotted the grill, her smile warmed. "Smells wonderful," she said. "Is there any left?" The Marine stiffened, saluting awkwardly with tongs and grease-smeared fingers. "Of course, ma'am. We saved you a piece." "To save me from hunger," she teased lightly. "Or to save yourselves from my disappointment?" The Marines exchanged a glance that suggested both. Then she turned slightly, just slightly, toward the rocky ridge where the assassins hid. She did not scan, did not raise a weapon, did not appear remotely tense. She simply lifted one brow, the barest arc of polite curiosity, and the entire Veldrath squad froze as if she had pointed a cannon at them. "Visitors," she murmured softly. "How unexpected." The assassins panicked. Their leader hissed. She seized through cloaking, retreat, regroup. But before they could vanish into the shadows, Baba Yaga called out in that disarmingly gentle tone that no one ever seemed prepared for. "Please don't run. You must be cold from the descent. Come closer. I can offer tea." The Marines looked baffled. The assassins looked terrified. Somehow, impossibly, her kindness sounded like a threat constructed out of velvet. Slowly, because she had invited them, and to refuse felt dangerous in an existential way, the assassins deactivated their cloaks. They materialized awkwardly on the ridge, weapons half-raised, unsure whether etiquette required them to bow. Baba Yaga smiled as if welcoming neighbors. "Hello. My name is Elena. But you likely know me as something else." The leader swallowed hard. "Baba Yaga." "Ah." She exhaled, not prideful, but faintly amused. Humans do love nicknames. Her tone was so calm, so conversational, that even the Marines began relaxing. One leaned over to another and whispered, "Did they seriously come here invisible? That's kinda cool." The assassins interpreted this as a threat assessment. Baba Yaga stepped closer, unarmed, offering one of the tea cups. "Chamomile. Good for nerves." Then she added gently, "You seem to need it." The leader stared at the cup as though it contained poison distilled from nightmares. His hand shook when he reached for it, not because he feared dying, but because she looked genuinely concerned for his well-being, and nothing in Veldrath culture had ever prepared him for gentle enemies. He sipped. The warmth spread through him, confusing his combat instincts so thoroughly, he nearly dropped his blade. "My apologies," she continued, "if our base layout inconvenienced your infiltration plan. We try to keep things simple and peaceful." She tilted her head thoughtfully. "Though peace becomes difficult when people keep sneaking into my backyard at night." It was said lightly, kindly, but the words fell like precision strikes. The assassins stepped back involuntarily. Captain Rivera hurried over, breathless. "Ma'am, these are—" "I know," Baba Yaga said. "They're here to assess me." She offered a calm smile to the assassins. "Isn't that right?" "We came to—" the leader stammered, humiliated by his fear. "To neutralize a threat." "Oh." She nodded sympathetically. "You must be very confused then." She gestured around at the relaxed humans, the laughter, the glow of the grill. "Where is the battlefield? Where is the raging monster your council described? Where are the horrors?" The assassins exchanged glances. Everything she said was logical. Everything felt wrong. "We assumed," the leader managed, "that you would be more dangerous." "I am," she said kindly. And somehow, her softness made the truth louder. One assassin blurted. "Why didn't you kill us the moment we landed?" "Why would I?" She blinked. "Your guests." The Veldrath, who believed mercy was a myth invented by prey species, stood paralyzed. Then Rivera stepped close to her. "General, perhaps we should." "Let them go," Baba Yaga said softly. "Fear travels faster than ships. It's a message more effective than fire." The assassins trembled. A message. A warning. A psychological maneuver wrapped in hospitality. They backed away, tripping over themselves, activating cloaking fields in frantic bursts. As they vanished into the dark, Baba Yaga waved cheerfully. "Travel safely," she called. "Next time knock." When the assassins were gone, the Marines erupted into laughter. Rivera stared at Baba Yaga, with a mixture of admiration and fear. "You planned that?" "Planned?" She shrugged, sipping her tea. "No. Anticipated, perhaps." Her eyes hardened slightly. They needed to see that humans aren't what the Council believes. They needed confusion. Confusion leads to mistakes. Mistakes open doors. Doors to what? "To the next phase," she replied. Later that night, she walked alone along the dim perimeter trail, the gravel crunching beneath her boots. The wind carried distant laughter from her soldiers, a reminder of why she stood here. To shield them from the galaxy's paranoia. She paused near the edge of the ridge. The assassin's footprints still marked the dust. She traced one with her finger. "They'll report back," she whispered. "They'll warn the Council that their monster drinks chamomile and offers mercy. And the Council will panic even more because they don't understand kindness." She stood, eyes narrowing with the faintest steel. "Now they'll make their next move. And they'll think they're choosing it freely." Behind her, the station lights flickered. Above her, the stars vibrated faintly, as if bracing for whatever she had set in motion. And far across the void at that very moment, an urgent Council transmission echoed through the galaxy. 3 words she had been waiting to hear. "Initiate full mobilization." Across the spiral arm, billions watched as screens flickered, dimmed, and then stabilized into the serene, unthreatening face of a 30-year-old human woman draped in a soft gray uniform. No alarms preceded her appearance. No hacking signatures were detected. One moment the galaxy was absorbed in its own chaos. The next, Baba Yaga was staring gently into every command deck, marketplace, Senate hall, and war room. Even planets untouched by human presence felt the shock ripple, like a cold tremor through their data streams. Empires that prided themselves on security suddenly discovered they had none. She did not raise her voice. She did not glare or threaten. Her expression remained warm, almost tender. "Good evening," she said, as though addressing old friends. "I understand there has been concern regarding my existence. I would like to reassure you that it is unnecessary." She paused to sip from a plain ceramic mug. "However, continual attempts to assassinate me are becoming inconvenient. Therefore, I kindly request a cessation of hostilities." The word "kindly" detonated across the galaxy like a torpedo strike. In the Harkonnen Triad, generals scrambled for translations, convinced she had issued a coded ultimatum. The Veldrath Dominion erupted into panicked roars. The very choir, a species of psionic diplomats, collectively fainted. The quiet politeness of her tone unnerved them more deeply than any weapon ever forged by human hands. Then she continued, still speaking as though delivering a bedtime story. "To avoid unnecessary escalation, I will deploy only 1 battalion to handle this situation." She smiled. "I trust that will be sufficient." It was the calmest sentence ever to trigger planetary evacuations. Entire fleets jolted into emergency formation. A mining moon shut down operations and began hollowing itself into a bunker. A dozen empires declared partial surrender, before fully understanding the message. Across the galaxy, voices shouted over one another. Translators malfunctioning, advisors screaming contradictory orders, panic erupting like wildfire. In a cramped broadcast station on the fringes of Alliance territory, an elderly alien engineer clutched his chest. "Only 1 battalion?" He wheezed. What kind of demons require only one battalion to threaten the galaxy? His assistant whispered, humans. The message ended as abruptly as it appeared. No fanfare. No fade out. Just a serene nod and a soft click. Then silence. Then hysteria. Council chambers flooded with emergency transmissions. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others insisted on diplomatic outreach. Many begged for mercy. The Veldrath Dominion, having suffered the humiliation of retreating from her tea-scented hospitality, insisted humans were deploying psychological warfare of unprecedented scale. She says kindly, but she means prepare your funerals. A Veldrath marshal shouted. Humans use politeness as camouflage. The council's oldest member, a luminous being of pure energy, whispered. I warned you. They evolved smiles and friendliness not as gestures of peace, but as tools to lure prey. Across the quadrant, militaries scrambled for context. In response, human ships remained inexplicably still. No fleets launched. No movement registered. The one battalion she referenced sat calmly on her station's deck, where Marines played cards beside half-finished coffee. One argued that decaf was an abomination. Aliens who intercepted the footage interpreted the debate as a pre-combat ritual that stoked suppressed aggression. Meanwhile, in her quiet command center, Baba Yaga watched the galactic reaction unfold with a contemplative expression. She touched her fingertips to the glass of the viewport, tracing the outline of distant stars. Fear travels quickly, she murmured. But panic travels faster. Captain Rivera approached with a tablet filled with incoming reports. General, 97 systems have raised defensive barriers. 3 have fired on their own satellites in confusion. 1 empire requested the terms of surrender for future conflicts. She lowered her voice. And they're asking who your battalion consists of. Baba Yaga smiled. I imagine the truth will frighten them. Rivera swallowed. Should we tell them it's only a logistics unit? Eventually, she replied. Let them imagine monsters for now. For a moment, Rivera observed her. Not as a commander, but as a human being carrying the impossible weight of an entire species' misinterpretations. She whispered. Do you ever regret being the face they fear? Regret? No. Baba Yaga folded her hands behind her back. Misunderstood creatures are often safest. The galaxy leaves them alone. But you're not misunderstood, Rivera said gently. You're strategic. That too. Outside, ships belonging to a dozen species drifted nervously at the edge of human space, awaiting instructions, fearing proximity, trembling at the possibility of being noticed. The silence of the human fleet amplified their terror. Nothing in war was more threatening than calm opponents. Aboard one Veldrath cruiser, an officer trembled as he replayed the message. She drank tea, he said in disbelief. She issued a universal warning, and she drank tea. Why do humans involve beverages in their threats? Perhaps, another whispered. It fuels their abilities. On a diplomatic ship, 2 ambassadors reviewed humanity's history. They stared at the record of every war humans had fought. Short, brutal, unpredictable affairs where humans smiled in photographs taken minutes before battle. Why? One murmured. Do their eyes look calm when everything around them burns? Back on the human outpost, Marines gathered at a railing as Baba Yaga walked among them, pausing to listen to a joke, to adjust a soldier's collar, to share a piece of dry humor about the galactic overreaction. She fit among them so seamlessly that an outsider might never guess she had just plunged the galaxy into existential crisis with a few soft-spoken sentences. Yet beneath the camaraderie, something darker pulsed, an intuition she carried with unsettling clarity. Humans had not asked to be feared, but they had earned that reputation through centuries of resilience. Their ability to endure, adapt, and retaliate meant that even their gentlest gestures could look carnivorous to fragile empires. Night settled over the outpost, painting the station in solemn blue. Baba Yaga returned to her private chamber, dimly lit by a single lamp. She opened a drawer and removed a small file marked with coordinates. Her gaze softened, not with affection, but with the quiet satisfaction of a plan unfolding precisely as intended. she whispered. "They will come exactly where I need them to be." Rivera entered quietly. "General, long-range scans show mass fleet movement toward Sector Thales. Multiple empires. All converging." Baba Yaga closed the file and stood. "Good." Rivera hesitated. "General, they believe they're cornering you." "That's the idea." She reached for her coat, fastening it with meticulous calm. "People make predictable choices when they think they're in control. And what will they find when they reach those coordinates?" Baba Yaga looked through the viewport once more, her expression unreadable. "Not me," she said softly. "Just the beginning of their education." And far beyond the station, entire fleets unknowingly drifted into the geometric shape she needed, forming a pattern so precise that no empire yet realized they were building the first piece of her trap. The fleets arrived in Sector Thales like a gathering of storms. Hundreds of ships representing dozens of empires, all converging in a trembling attempt at unity. Their hulls glowed beneath the pale nebular light, shimmering nervously as their commanders tried to make sense of the coordinates Baba Yaga had offered so calmly. Some believed it was a battlefield. Others believed it was a surrender point. A few whispered that it might be a trap, but no one could agree on the nature of it. Pride, fear, and desperation tangled until even the veteran strategists could not tell what was instinct and what was panic. On the command deck of the Harkonnen flagship, a trembling admiral adjusted his lenses. "Why this location? There is no tactical value, no planetary body, no mineral wealth." His aide whispered, "Perhaps it is symbolic." "Humans do not use symbolism," another snapped. "They use misdirection." And misdirection was exactly what unfolded as their ships slowly slid into position. Each fleet jockeyed for the best defensive angle, unaware that their scattered movement was gradually forming a precise geometric lattice, one Baba Yaga had predicted down to the kilometer. To them, it felt like chaotic guesswork. To her, it was a chessboard assembling itself. Light rippled across space as the last fleet arrived. Engines hummed. Cannons glowed. Communications crackled with nervous static. Then a human signal pulsed across the void. One ship. Alone. It emerged from the dark with quiet grace, a slender vessel bearing the emblem of a single battalion, a simple white line cutting across a field of midnight blue. To the alien armadas, it looked impossibly small. Almost disrespectfully small. Yet the sight of it rippled through every hull like a shiver. Baba Yaga stepped into view on every screen. She wore her formal coat this time, braided hair gleaming like a line of ink against the pale collar. There was no smugness in her expression, no sign of looming violence. Only calm. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I appreciate your punctuality." Hundreds of ships flinched. Never had diplomacy felt so much like doom. Veldrath commanders bared their teeth. "Human general, you are surrounded. Surrender your battalion." She blinked, almost sympathetically. "Surrounded? No. You've simply drifted into place." "Into place for what?" She stepped aside, revealing a projected map of their positions. The fleets formed a colossal circular grid, interlocked by their own shield frequencies, all overlapping in a pattern so stable it resembled the frame of an enormous machine. "You built the structure perfectly," she said with quiet admiration. "Thank you." Whispers erupted across every bridge. Some recognized the horror immediately. Others gasped without understanding, sensing only the dread blooming beneath their ribs. Captain Rivera stood beside her, hidden to the galaxy, but visible on the flagship deck. "General," she murmured, "they're detecting the harmonic resonance." "Good," Baba Yaga replied. "They should." Across the lattice, shields flickered as each empire discovered the same truth. Their energy signatures weren't random, they were synchronizing. Their overlapping frequencies created a massive amplification ring, a cage forged not from metal but from their own power. An Eridani scientist shouted, "We've formed a containment pattern. If they activate a pulse." But the sentence never finished, because a single human signal shot through the formation, a soft chime, almost musical. It resonated across every ship, bouncing along the shield grid and feeding into the combined field they had unknowingly constructed. In an instant, the entire sector lit up. Not with fire. Not with destruction. With silence. Engines choked mid-burn. Cannons powered down. Warp drives froze. Communications collapsed into static. Even emergency reserves flickered into stasis. Entire empires found themselves immobilized, harmless as insects trapped in amber. Baba Yaga watched the paralysis unfold with a solemn expression, not triumphant, not cruel, merely certain. "This is not an attack," she said softly, her voice threading through the helpless fleets. "It is a lesson." Her face softened. For centuries, humanity has been underestimated. Feared. Misread. You believed we were predators hiding behind smiles. She paused. But the truth is simpler. We are survivors. We adapt, we learn, and we prepare for the moment when words no longer suffice. Her calmness lanced through the immobilized armadas sharper than any weapon. A very diplomat forced out a psychic whisper, trembling from the strain. "What do you intend?" "To show you the cost of your fear," she answered. "And the danger of assuming that kindness is weakness." She gave a small, almost affectionate shrug. Tea and courtesy are merely preferences. Strategy is the instinct. On every ship, crews scrambled uselessly, trying to break free of the energy net they themselves had formed. But the lattice held, humming with quiet, merciless efficiency. The Veldrath Marshal roared, "Release us, human. This is an act of war." Baba Yaga tilted her head. "No. This is the prevention of one." She walked closer to the camera, and for a moment, her expression softened into something deeply human, tired, resolute, carrying the weight of what she had chosen. "I do not enjoy fear," she said. "But I cannot allow the galaxy to hunt my people. So consider this a boundary." Then her tone lowered, warm and devastating. "If you raise arms against humanity again, I will not use traps. I will use intent." The words hung in the air like a supernova. Across the fleets, commanders shuddered. Being trapped was terrifying. Being spared was worse. Inside her ship, Rivera exhaled shakily. "General, what happens now?" "Now," Baba Yaga said, "we return their power." She pressed a single control. The lattice dissolved, shields flickering back into isolated frequencies. Engines rebooted. Cannons hummed with regained life. The fleets were free. But none moved. None dared. Baba Yaga folded her hands behind her back. "Let this be the last time fear drives you to violence. We would prefer peace. But we are prepared for the alternative." Across the void, thousands of ships drifted in stunned silence, clinging to her final words like survivors clinging to debris after a storm. Then Baba Yaga's screen faded, but only after offering a final, gentle smile. On the Veldrath flagship, an officer whispered, "What now, Marshal?" The Marshal stared into the darkness where her ship had vanished. "We pray," he murmured, "that she never stops smiling." And far away, aboard her quiet vessel, Baba Yaga turned to Rivera as the stars rearranged themselves into familiar constellations. Rivera whispered, "Was this really Phase 1? Baba Yaga looked out into the trembling galaxy, eyes sharp as thin blades of ice. "No," she said softly. "This was only the warning.